So today we're sitting down with Tony Beliso from San Francisco Pretrial Diversion Project. And Tony, could you just describe your role within this organization?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Currently, my role is lead case manager with Assertive Case Management.
Cool, thanks. Now, really the first thing I wanted to ask you is, what is your personal philosophy when you're dealing with clients? I know that you're a case manager, so you're meeting a lot of clients face-to-face or over the phone. So in your communication, what's a philosophy that you follow?
I try to keep my opinions and expectations and thoughts at a minimum because I'm working with people that are in bad situations, and I'm asked to work with them and help them, but I'm working with people that I really don't know. I don't know them. I don't know their history. I may know a little bit about their criminal history, but that's not really a lot. You're dealing with human beings, and it's tricky. So I try and keep an open mind and go from there.
Cool. So keeping an open mind. Now, I'm just going to make a generalization here, but in terms of what are traits that other case managers should have, or what traits should all case managers have when dealing with clients?
There are clients that are in different situations. We have clients that are low need, which means they may just have, how do we say it? Maybe they're in the wrong place, they're in the wrong time, but they have support, they have connections, they're stable. And then we may have clients that do not have that stability. For instance, we have a lot of clients on our caseload that are homeless. When I'm working with my homeless clients, they have barriers that normal people don't have. And that's where we really have to know our job, know what we're doing, and know how to connect them to the services or the resources that they need.
So the ability and knowledge to connect individuals to adequate services.
It's part of it. We have a high need client, and I'm thinking one in my mind today. We're having difficulty working with that client because they need a level of care that is something higher than we can provide. Our goal with that individual is to connect him with people that can help him. And it's tedious because the client and his expectations of us are not realistic. We're not going to be able to solve their problems. We're not going to be able to give them housing. We are not going to be able to just call people and tell them, hey, can we have this and get that? It takes a lot of work to connect someone with services. It takes a lot of work to reconnect someone with services. It takes a lot of work, and it takes patience. It takes collaboration. Because right now I'm working with someone as a team. I'm a lead case manager. They're a social worker, and we're trying to connect with medical services. Being that the client is unstable and homeless, the first thing that we learned was that they can't have an appointment with their doctor because they missed too many appointments that were set in the past.
Thanks.
So right off the bat, we have a challenge to where we need our client to meet with the doctor. And the only way that we can get an appointment is to get it through as a drop-in appointment, which is not a bad thing. It's just, it makes things difficult. It's not like we can just say, oh, here's your appointment card. Go see your doctor on Monday at 11 and everything will be fine. We'll need to outreach the client. We'll need to connect with the client. We'll need to escort the client. And quite possibly, we may need to sit through the appointment with the client, just so that we have a clear understanding of what's going on and what needs to go on. So it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, I wanted to touch up on, you mentioned working with a team to get this individual to seek medical treatment. You mentioned referrals to services. When you're talking to a client, how do you assess for services? How do you know what this person may need in order to be successful?
One of the favorite parts about my job is that when I'm working with the client, I actually have an expert with me always while I'm working with that client. And that's the client. It's when I do my assessments, my questions are what do you need? Where are you at and what do you need? And that person can tell me exactly what their needs are.
Can you walk us over, when you're first talking to an individual, you guys are doing an assessment. What does that assessment contain? What type of questions does that assessment contain?
When we do our assessment, the first thing that we do is we look at the charges. We see what that person is being charged for. Then we try and look at their history. We're going to see what have been their past charges. And then we actually go in and then we do an interview with that person. We question them on basic demographics. We question them about their income. We question them about their health issues. We question them about their mental health issues. We question them about their substance abuse issues. We save the best for last. We question them about their criminal history and what they feel is the pattern of their criminal history. There's a lot of reasons why people get in trouble. And we need to understand, well, what is it? What do you feel is the pattern of the trouble that you get into? Some people don't even know why they get in trouble. The most popular answer I get is, I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Another one can be economics.
Yeah.
Another one can be disconnected from family. Another could be disconnected from therapy or counseling or treatment. So it's hard to just assume what's going on. It takes sitting down and asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, the clients have all the information and they're not shy about sharing it. I'm surprised how honest they are when I ask some of the difficult questions about substance abuse or mental health or health. They're not shy about saying what's wrong.
Now, I wanted to talk. I want to talk about services in a bit, but I wanted to touch up on a point you made where the client is the one with the expertise. They know what they might know, the things that are going to help them. They might know that the things are going to, what's best for them. But, there's a popular phrase that we use, and it's meeting someone halfway. What can you tell me about your process when someone is not as forthcoming as you want them to be? If maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they aren't, they're not feeling that trust. How do you elicit the answers that you need to get information about what services to provide? If this person, is not being very talkative, particularly that day.
I will, if I'm dealing with someone that is not providing what I need to make a good assessment, I'm going to go by the charges. Was the offense drug related? Was the offense dealing with a situation where it's a behavior issue? Maybe the person has vandalized something, or maybe the situation involved violence. So I'll if I don't have enough information, I'll just put a Band-Aid on it. Substance abuse class, anger management class. We have a wonderful class called Thinking for a Change, which is probably one of my favorites because it challenges individuals to look at things in different lights. A lot of times when we look at things from our perspective, but we don't look at things from other people's perspectives. And I find that to be one of my favorite classes to send people to when it's not clear what the best thing is for them. And one thing that I always do is when I meet with the client early on and I don't know them and I don't understand, is that I'll tell them we'll start off with this class and do a few classes and we'll check in again and we'll see how it's going, and let them know that we call it a treatment plan. We let them know that the treatment plan isn't locked into this. If the class isn't working, we can find something better. So our main objective is to get our clients doing something productive, or as productive as we can, and make sure that they get their reporting requirements met and make sure that they get to court. That's probably one of our number one roles here at Pretrial Diversion, is they're released on their own recognizance with conditions. Part of those conditions are checking in with us regularly and keeping their contact information current. And then the other condition is working on something. So we can be flexible there.
Now, I wanted to just circle around back to services. Could you give me an overview of if someone is experiencing X issue, what are some referrals or services you may provide? I know you briefly talked about substance abuse and Thinking for Change, but what are some other services and referrals that you also provide to your clients?
A popular referral is for mental health services. Mm-hmm. When we're interviewing with clients, we have a mental health section. It's not a very long section, but it's straightforward. One of the questions are, have you ever taken medications for mental health issues? Another question is, Are you in therapy now, or have you ever been in therapy? If someone has been on medications, I love to ask them, are you on them now, and do they work? And that'll tell me one thing, is that if they're not on medications, I can see how motivated they are if they want to get back on medications, or if it was helpful at all. Being on medications for mental health issues is very difficult to maintain, especially if you're homeless. So there's all kind of reasons why someone would come to us not being on medications, but would need to be put on medications as soon as possible.
And I wanted to touch up on mental health before we go into the other services, since we in San Francisco, we like to we think mental wellness is a very important part of someone's health, very important part of someone's happiness. When you refer people for mental health services, is it like a one-on-one? Is it group therapy? Is it counseling? What are some of these services?
We have a lot of providers out there. One of our main providers is Health Right 360, who work with people with substance abuse issues. And one of the things that they provide are full wraparound services. It's one of my favorite places to refer people to. They can deal with health, mental health, substance abuse counseling, and there are people that have co-occurring disorders. So we have people that might have substance abuse issues and mental health issues. There's individuals out there that use certain drugs and alcohol to self-medicate themselves. When I refer people someplace, they all need some sort of specialized treatment. What that treatment may be can be a mystery to me. So what I do is I give them the referral, and I let Health Right 360 advise what's the best for the person. Because bottom line, I'm not a drug or alcohol counselor. The same with people that I refer to, like we work very closely with Citywide. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, so it's important that I get them there, but it's important that that agency dictate what level of treatment and what it might be.
Refer to the experts.
Yes. I'm a case manager. I'm thinking of Bones from Star Trek. I'm a case manager, damn it, not a brain surgeon. So I trust the agencies that we work with. We work with some wonderful people that serve our community. And with our clients and their providers, just connecting them is enough sometimes. The problem is that sometimes we have clients that are disconnected, and that's when it gets kind of tricky, because we have to figure out, well, why have they disconnected? How have they disconnected? And then how do we reconnect them? Sometimes it's not cut and dry. I had one client who has gotten kicked out and denied services from every provider there is out there because of behavior issues. So it gets a little tricky. and it gets a little confusing. But what I do is I trust our community and I trust our service providers to tell us what's best.
And San Francisco Pretrial Diversion Project, you guys provide substance abuse groups. You mentioned Thinking for Change, and there's also anger management class.
Yes. Yeah, I actually facilitate anger management.
Wow, tell us a little about that. What's your strategy?
I have a class that has so many students in it, I don't know what to do. I've been given a curriculum that I haven't taught before. It was given to me by my new supervisor, and it looks very good and very exciting. It's going to involve asking a lot of questions, and it's going to involve not only the class learning, but there's going to be some learning in there for me also. So I'm looking very forward to this new curriculum. It was a anger management class that was taught to people in custody, and it looked kind of exciting. There's going to be a lot of discussion involved in it. I wanted to say one thing about my class was I did a little test with them last Monday to see if they could talk together and discuss together without any kind of maximum refereeing or anything like that. And everyone spoke well with each other and talked well with each other. So I'm excited to get a large group and just sit down and discuss anger management and discuss how to manage your anger. A lot of people look at being angry as a negative thing, which is not necessarily so. It's not bad that a person gets angry. What's bad is when someone gets angry and deals with that anger in an unproductive way. So I'm excited to seeing how we can unravel some of the positive things about being angry and how to deal with it.
Great, thanks for that. And we mentioned groups, which is a common thing that pretrial provides. Now, how about some other services? Housing, job training, job placement. Could you tell me a little bit about those?
There is probably my most favorite place to refer people, and it's called 5 Keys. It's a wonderful program that helps people get either their high school diploma or their GED. One of our assessment questions are, what level did you get to in school? If someone doesn't have their GED or high school diploma, it may be appropriate to refer them to 5 Keys. There are a lot of different things that we can do if someone needs help with employment. Mission Hiring Hall has been in San Francisco forever and has a really good employment program. There's another place called America Works that has done some wonderful work with people in the criminal justice field that needs employment. Goodwill Industries. There is another program that has training for construction. There is a program for chefs. On Mission Street, there is CAP, or what I like to call GA. They give you food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
They give you cash aid, and they have a PAYS program that asks you to do community work and job search, and they have a lot of support there. So
wonderful.
The educational piece and the employment piece, it really has to be on the individual. If you want work, there's places that we can send them where they can get some sort of assistance. America Work being one of my favorite places. They will help you with your resumes. They will help you with interviewing skills. If you have a criminal background, they help you deal with how to explain it on job interviews. Also, just going to GA, getting on food stamps, getting on Medi-Cal, and then getting on their cash aid. They have a wonderful program that gets you ready for employment. There's a lot of things going on in San Francisco that can help someone get on their feet. The problem is that person stable enough to go through the process? The challenge is with some of our clients are homeless and don't have the stability, but there are ways to strengthen their stability and get them back on their feet. It just takes a lot of work.
Now, Tony, you've defined your treatment plan. You've given us information about all these services, groups, and referrals. You've defined your treatment plan and what the client needs to do. Now, how do you define success in your line of work?
I know one thing. It's really frustrating to work with someone, see them have their case resolved, see them walk out our doors free, and then come back on our caseload because they've reoffended or they've gotten in. It's very frustrating. So I define success when a client goes away and I never see them again. Every once in a while I get a chance to run into my clients and ex-clients in the community, and it's always a joy to see them, especially to see them if they're doing well or if they're doing really well. For instance, I saw a young man one day when he was on my caseload. He was not doing well. He had a lot of issues. I saw him recently. He has gainful employment. He's married. He has a son, and he has another child on the way. It's very, very satisfying to see someone put their mistakes behind them and go forward in life. So success is not returning to our caseload.
Mm-hmm. When you first started off as a case manager, compare that to now. How's your approach to case management evolved over time, or has it been consistent? Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
I have been very consistent. I have a bag of tricks, but it's very limited. I preach, I lecture, I nag. I joke with my clients. My sense of humor is probably one of my biggest tools in my bag of tricks. If I can get a client to laugh, I've de-escalated them. One of the things that I preach is self-care. If there is one thing that my clients have in common with each other is they're overstressed, overwhelmed, over everything, and they suffer because they're not able to take care of themselves. They're unable to get the proper food. They're unable to get the proper sleep. They're unable to keep clean. They're unable to do the things that they have to do to live well. So I do a lot of that. Also, I do a lot of encouraging. I try to encourage my clients. There's something that the clients that I work with also have in common is they're terribly frustrated. They're terribly, discouraged. When you're going through our system, it's very dehumanizing.
And you're referring to the criminal justice system?
No, no, not the criminal justice system. The system as a whole. We have a community of people that are marginalized, that are ignored, that are criminalized, and their main crime is that they're poor and they're homeless and they have challenges. One thing that I always do is I treat them with dignity. I treat them with respect. And I try to encourage them to do the right things. There's really one way out of being homeless. There is only one way out of being in the legal situations that they're in, and that is to show up and do the work. And it takes encouragement because the work is not easy. It's not easy to come and see me 3 times a week and survive on top of that. I'm glad that we can provide food in a limited capacity. I'm glad that we can provide clothing in a limited capacity. I'm happy that we can even provide housing in a limited capacity. If I had a wish list for what I need, I would say more resources. We're almost out of socks again, but we got plenty of cup of soup. But we don't have bus passes. But there are some women's clothing. We need more men's pants. We're almost out of socks. I asked the client, is there anything I can do for you? They say, do you have a coat? I said, sorry, we gave them all out. We have a big box of ponchos. And we should be okay until the rainy season goes away. The problem is we need resources. We need things that people need for basic survival.
Tony, you touched up on some really important points, and I don't even know where to start. But I'm going to talk. You mentioned resources, clothing, food, shelter, money.
Money.
What's something? I'm going to throw like a 180 here. But what's something that either San Francisco can do or the United States can do in order to provide those resources to this, I guess you can say, for lack of better wording, of a class of individuals who don't have those basic amenities, basic services, basic resources?
The city of San Francisco, the federal government, what can they do?
Or what would you like them to do?
What would I like them to do? Affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing, housing. Without affordable housing, without the stability a person needs, they can't work on these issues. You cannot go to class if you have to stand in line for 2 hours to get a meal. You cannot go to a class and sit in a classroom if your clothes are dirty. You cannot keep on top of your medication if you're sleeping in doorways and every time you wake up, you've lost everything that you've owned because someone has stolen it, or the Department of Public Works has put in everything you own in the back of a garbage truck and drove away with it. One of the coolest things that San Francisco did was invested in a program called LavaMe, where it's called LavaMe. It's a shower system that's on a trailer, and they can just go park it in front of the main library. They can park it in front of Swords to Plowshares. They can park it across the street from St. Anthony's Dining Hall, where people can just go in and take a shower. What we need is things that can stabilize our clients, because without stability, they really cannot do any meaningful work that needs to be done for them to recover from whatever situations they may have found themselves in. We have young people out there on the streets. We have veterans out there on the streets. We have senior citizens out there on the streets. We have people with serious mental health issues out there on the streets. We have people with serious mental health and substance abuse issues out there on the streets. And we just have people out there on the streets that are out there on the streets. What we need as a whole is affordable housing, a place where they can call home and a place where they can address what their needs are. I'm not saying that there isn't places for them to go now. The problem is that there are not enough places for them to go. One of the saddest things I ever saw was someone that was in subsidized housing that lost their housing because they did not have the services that they needed to work on. He was like, I guess the guy was on SSI, he had mental health issues, and he was evicted from that housing because he wasn't going to a mental health provider. which meant that he got halfway there and then got the rug pulled out from under him. And it was just because he was someplace and he slipped through a crack. Will he ever be able to go back to that place? No. Why? Because now he has an eviction on him. Very sad. But it is so important that a person has a place to stabilize. It's really sad. You have somebody that has drug abuse problems. They want to change their lives. They go to residential treatment, and when they get out, there's no housing for them. We need clean and sober housing. We need housing. If someone has substance abuse issues, we need housing for people with substance abuse issues. We need housing for people with mental health issues. We need housing for people that are old. We need housing for young people. Do you know how many young people are running around out there that could be doing things that are productive, but there's no stability for them to connect with the housing and the services? We have one agency, it's called Larkin. It works for youth. Larkin Street Youth. They do wonderful work with young people. If someone needed to donate to someone and we're wondering, well, who should I donate to? Those will be the first people I would donate to. Donate to the Larkin Street Youth because they work with young people and they work well with them. There's a lot of people out there that knows what it's like to be in addiction. They should donate to people that are struggling with addiction. You know, they should donate to nonprofits that are going to try and help them. People, I don't think it should be on, the city of San Francisco is doing so much. The federal government is doing so much. But you know what everyone needs to be doing? If I were to say, what do I think that needs to happen? I believe that the community needs to start supporting whatever they can possibly support with donations, with food, with clothing, with money, with whatever, with time. Do you know the most valuable thing a person can give is their time?
Tell us more.
If you've got nothing better to do, go down to St. Anthony's and help feed the hungry. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, if there's something that you are passionate about, volunteer, put some time in there. I know a person that works with people and service animals. If you're into dogs and cats and stuff, volunteer your time. You know, do something for your community. That's what it takes. We need more. And we need more resources. We need more food. We need more clothing. We need more volunteers. We need more people that care.
Now, you talked, housing is definitely an extremely important issue, and then you hammered it home about why we need housing. We hear in the news about the homelessness crisis, the homelessness epidemic, in Los Angeles, in San Francisco. We have, during elections, mayoral elections, elections for supervisors, so many people run on a platform of, affordable housing, services to homeless individuals. Do you feel that San Francisco is moving in the right direction, the wrong direction? What's your view on the political landscape right now in terms of providing those resources?
I'm going to say it as kindly as I can. San Francisco is moving in a direction, but they're moving a little bit too slow for my taste. There's no reason why so many people should be out there on the streets. They need to either be working, in school, in treatment, or being cared for. I'm very proud of the VA and all the work that they're doing with the veterans. And I'm very proud of the people out there that are working with people in the area of substance abuse. Specifically, one of my favorite places is the Harm Reduction Coalition. They're doing all that they can to help people. They're trying to help people get treated for Hep C. They're trying to help them with counseling. There's not one person out there that is not carrying Narcan, which means there's people in the community looking out for their community. And possibly there's been a lot of deaths from drug overdoses. There'd be a lot more if it wasn't for the Harm Reduction Coalition and the people that they're working with. Everyone's trained to use Narcan and to save each other. They're being empowered. They're being counseled. They're being nurtured. They're being the way that we connect people with services. They're out there doing the same thing, trying to connect them with housing, trying to connect them with counseling, trying to connect them with mental health. There's so many people out here that are working. It's amazing to be part of all of that. The problem is, it's just that we need so much more. I don't want to get political because it stops being the politician's job and it starts being the community's job. A politician can only do so much.
Right. We'll get started.
Thanks for that break.
we just returned from break. We're about to wrap this up. So, Tony, I wanted to ask you, in the office, we have a psychologist on site.
Yes.
And we also have a social worker.
Yes.
How does that play a part in client success and services provided?
Oh my goodness. It plays a giant part. As I say, me personally, I'm not trained. I'm not a trained substance abuse counselor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. All I know is what little I do know and what my experience has taught me. And having a professional at the end of an extension, all I have to do is run upstairs and say, "Hey, I have a crisis," or "I have a situation that is over my level of expertise or understanding." Having that professional right there when I need them is invaluable. You saw me last week working with my client. My poor client was off the freaking chain. I wasn't afraid because I had a licensed professional with me taking the lead. It's just, all I can say is I wish that we had more. I wish we had more.
How do you ensure client success with your partnerships with the other members of the agency? So, for example, the OR team, court team, you yourself as a case manager, social worker, and psychologist. Describe how do you guys work together in order to build success?
It all starts when the client is arrested and interviewed by OR. OR has been a part of pretrial for a very long time. OR stands for own recognizance. If a person is able to have a mailing address, a phone number, a place that can take messages in case of an emergency, there's a possibility that that person can be released from custody on just their promise to return for their court dates. That's where it all begins. That's where our data goes into the system. The people that do not qualify for OR most likely will qualify for our assertive case management program. Our assertive case management program can work with people in a variety of needs. We can have just a low need ACM with minimum supervision. We can have a ACM client with medium needs that will need medium supervision. And then we can work with clients that are intensive and have a very high need of supervision and help. So everything starts with OR. They have OR with no active supervision. They have OR with minimum supervision. Then they have ACM. They have ACM with low supervision where they just check in. They have ACM with medium supervision needs where they may have to check in and do a class. They may have ACM with intensive needs. And that's where a lot of work gets done. That's when people have issues where they need to connect with services. They need to deal with health, mental health, substance abuse, behavior issues. So we have that part of the team, which is very important, the supervision portion of the team. We have people that are on our court teams, which work with the judge, the district attorney, and the public defenders. And they're very important on getting people released. It's very important. They keep up with court dates, and they help monitor and report to the courts on the conditions that the client has to meet to be out here in the public and working on whatever issues that the judge has approved. So we have a really big team of people doing a lot of good work. If I would have my favorite team at pretrial, it would be the court teams, because they're the ones that are responsible for generating reports and delivering reports and working one-on-one with the judge, the DA, and the public defender. And there's a lot of work involved to it.
you're talking about the court and the court team. What's ACM's obligation or your obligation as a caseworker to the courts? Can you describe that to us a little bit?
My obligation is to work with the clients. The work with that client begins when I first go and interview them in custody and try and figure out what that person's needs may be. There are times when that may not be clear, but through working with that client over time, we have an opportunity to assess, reassess, and do very meaningful work while that case is open. One of our main goals is, while we're with that client, is to make sure that they're connected with services that they need that will prevent them from getting in trouble again.
All right. Tony Beliso,
Yes, sir.
thank you for telling us about who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Thank you, B.
That's a wrap.